up, YouTube? Mr. Lemessy here, and today I'm going to give my Diablo 4 changes, how to improve the game, everything that I think would be great to improve it. Again, these are my opinions. You may have your own opinions. You're entitled to your own opinions. You may disagree with some of this. That's fine. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments, but let's be respectful. Let's keep it nice and friendly. Anyways, I'm going to dive in to a lot of this stuff. This is all of the pieces after, I don't know, probably like 100 hours in the game or something that I think could be changed and improved and made better. So let's start with the campaign. I kind of want to do what we did again like last time where we black it all out and then we well, that's not great. Hold up and then, oh, that's just bad. All right, never mind. Campaign number 1, increase density in the campaign. Also increase difficulty. I think higher monster damage but lower monster HP could be nice. A lot of it feels like sponges, but it doesn't feel like you're actually getting hurt, You're just kind of like, just kind of along with that. And then the density as well. There was a lot of just running through zones. You don't have your horse yet. It was just like running. I'm just going from area to area. It did not feel great. Number 2, remove so many escort quests. These are not fun. Maybe you love escort quests. I don't love escort quests, and I feel like there were a lot of them in the campaign. It was just a lot of escorting somebody to the next spot. And I think getting rid of some of these, allowing these to be skipped ahead, whatever, would be a big improvement. Number 3, allow for skipping through unskippable cutscenes. Non-cutscenes, excuse me. If I press escape, let the dialogue move forward, or the person move to the spot, whatever it is, right? There was plenty of times where I'm sitting there and the dog is walking over, turns, sits down, says a line, I click the thing, he gets up, he walks to the next spot. It's like, let me just spam through it. That'll be great. The person who wants to sit there and watch it, perfect. But give me the option of just being like, no. And when they're talking, it's like in every game that's existed of all time, you just push enter or spam the A key, and it goes through the dialogue faster if you don't care to read it. I think this would help a lot in the campaign not feeling such a slog for me. Again, that's just my opinion on it, but I think that would be a great improvement and maybe actually make me want to speedrun this game as opposed to being like, I don't want to sit for an hour in this unskippable unskippable pieces that add up. Dungeons and events. Moving on. Number 1, remove the slay all dungeons. I don't think people want to do the Den of Evil 100 times. I've done this dungeon so many times and I am tired of doing it. You could even adjust it to like slay 70% of the monsters or something. So I can go through, kill a majority of the pack of mobs and go to the next. But having to stop and kill each individual monster isn't feeling great. Number 2, still many dungeons could just be improved overall. Some of them definitely got better, but I still feel like there's a decent amount of backtracking. And overall, most of the dungeons are still, or many of them are still like, get 2 mechanical boxes, get 3 wheels, pull the 2 levers. It's still kind of the same idea. I wish there was better variety and they didn't feel so linear. And then if I miss one thing, I'm backtracking all the way. Number 3, remove the escorting events. This is just in the events overall. Again, I'm not sure who really likes these escort quests, but I can see why that kid's grandfather left him there. Because, oh my God, who wants to walk the kid to... No, that's not the right spot. Let me walk you to the next one. Just like, my goodness. And number 4, nightmare sigils. Teleport or create a TP to the dungeon. I I think this could just be a nice little quality of life improvement, as opposed to every time I open a Nightmare Dungeon, I then have to port over to whatever waypoint and then take that waypoint and all of that stuff. That also brings up another point I'll throw in right here, which I should just save it. I'm gonna note it down. Okay. Moving on. Builds. Number 1, move the camera back. The camera is just too close. Look at the horse range is great. Look at the horse camera. And then I'm off and then I'm too close. But when I'm on the horse, this is better. I actually can like see some distance. This is just an improvement. It's too close. I think it causes other issues like only melee builds. This is why it's under builds. Really existing since you can't see very far. And to expand on number 1 there, why is every single build a short range build? I picked a sorcerer because I like being that far back wizard and all of this stuff. But every sorcerer build that I've done devolves into me just diving into the middle, freezing everything, and then blowing everything up. I think this wrecks a lot of the build diversity because it's like any build that could or would use range, fire bolts, and whatever stuff, that variety doesn't really feel like it exists there. I think part of that is the camera. It's so zoomed in that there isn't really any of that. And additionally, part of it's also like maybe some of the monsters, how fast they run. I don't know. But I don't feel like I get to play a character that is like, oh, I stay back and I shoot my arrows, or I shoot my fireballs from afar. I cast my blizzard from afar. At the same time, like D2, you have Nova Source, where you can dive in the middle and kill things from, right inside. But every single build I've done on the Sorcerer, I'm always in the middle. And I'm like, this doesn't fit with any lore of what a Sorcerer really feels like to me, of this like glass cannon far away. I'm just like a tank who blows things up right inside. Anyways, trading. Number 1, open up trading. It feels awful how many items are account bound in the game and I can't trade. If I put a legendary aspect on it, if I do the imprinting, now it's stuck on me. I don't understand why that has to be stuck on me. Why can't I trade this item away to somebody else who would love it? That's a really, really weird restriction that's been put there, that I can have it as a GG rare item to trade, but once I imprint it and I want to use it, then I can't. To me, that encourages botting even further, because bots aren't going to use the items that they pick up, but me as a player, I'm going to use it, and then if I want to like make another character and I want to trade this awesome gear off to go build up that character, well, I've imprinted something on it, so now I can't. Like, it's like the reverse. I feel like it still encourages bots, but doesn't actually, it just hurts people who use the items. Number 2, not being able to give a cool item I find to my party members feels terrible. Hey, I got this awesome unique that you need, and I'm not going to use it. Well, that sucks. This happened way too often. Like, are you kidding me? This was a horrible feeling, being in a party with my friends and finding the item they need, and then I just can't give that item to them. I don't know why that exists. It needs to be removed. Again, I think opening up trading overall will improve it, but my gosh, at least within the party, it's just like, it doesn't feel great at all. Number 3, create a trading market. Right now, where do you trade? Trying to find a place to trade is like impossible. There's a single trade chat that you can open. That's a terrible experience. Having an MMO/ARPG with no market is very lacking, and it forces players to third-party solutions. I mean, I don't know. This feels like an obvious one. This is, again, part of the social aspects really lacking in the game. I think that this needs to be super handled quickly. because otherwise trading and all of that it's just garbage. It doesn't feel good at all. And that's a big part of like why it's awesome to go find cool loot, is to be able to trade it off and put it on the market and see what sort. Right now I'm like, I don't care about any loot for anything. If it doesn't work for me, I don't care. Moving on. Itemization. Give gems a use. The only use they have is I socket it in the gear. Once I have all my royals in my gear, it's done. That's it. Like, there's literally nothing else to do with gems. I hate when I accidentally pick up a gem right now because it just takes a spot up. I'm like, crap, throw that out. There's no incentive to pick them up whatsoever. They aren't worth any gold to even sell. They're just like worthless right now. So very confused what their purpose is beyond just one saga. Once you get a few of them, you're done. Number 2, add in more legendary aspects and uniques, but also don't make them so required. Right now, there's 120 or 150 aspects, but then you break it down to, of the 5 classes, there's only so many that you actually use on your class. And then you break that down further because they're build specific, and there's really not that many aspects for you to use. And they also feel really required. It doesn't feel like an optional thing for many of them, right? It's like, oh, this is critical strike when I have a barrier. My skill runs, I run a barrier, that's it. Oh, this is additional fireballs. I need to run the dish, like, whatever it is, it's just, I have to, like, use it. Like, my build feels already pre-built, and I'm just working up into the pre-built build, and the legendary aspects are so forced that, like, I don't really feel like I'm like, ooh, what if I tried this? Oh, that feels a little different, but I like it. It's like, no, they don't really give that, like, different change that I was really hoping they would give. It felt like the system idea was really cool, but in practice, with the current aspects, it's not allowing enough freedom of choice, where it's like, oh, it could be fun to, whenever I use Arc Lash, a little Frost Nova comes out. The Frost Nova doesn't actually do damage, but it has a little CC. That's really cool. But maybe I could instead use one that does, like, Firewall, burns. It's like, I don't know. There's so much that could have been there, but it doesn't feel like right now it has much choice. Number 3, too many items have too many class-specific affixes. Every item I find is like +2 to Firewall, +1 to Hydra, +3 to Ice Shards, +2 to Teleport, +1 to... And it's just like only on every specific item. So it's like boots will get Teleport, Frost Nova, Flame Shield, I guess the defensive ones, and, gloves will get the core skills, and this will get these, and it's like every item just has this, like, specific affix of all that. It just doesn't feel great. Number 4, overall, I think itemization needs a big overhaul. I think there would be a lot to implement to get this in-game, but I honestly think you guys should consider it. This is my biggest complaint, I would say, currently with Diablo 4, and judging by the comments I've heard from a lot of people as well, even people that love Diablo 4, love Diablo 3, I think a lot of people are still in agreement that itemization just isn't feeling great right now. Legendary aspects being forced, affixes being kind of bland and simple, but then complicated with, like, the near, non-injured, close, far, all of this stuff. It doesn't feel great. And then ultimately you're just going for the same cooldown reduction, critical strike damage and chance, mana resource generation or just resource generation, attack speed. You're just kind of going the same thing. And then you also have core skill damage, vulnerable skill damage, or vulnerable damage, damage to close enemies. You just kind of hit the same pieces. It's just not feeling really great. The affixes feel like they just need to be wiped and re-put in there and readjusted. It's just damage to every kind of CC and then all the CC. It's tough. It's tough because I know this would be a really big overhaul. But I think if there's one big system that I think a lot of people would really want you to adjust, it's this one. And again, I think there's a whole giant dive-in we could do on it, but I don't want to take the whole video just for that. Number 5, unique items. There's so few of them, and they just kind of feel like legendaries for the most part. They're pretty underwhelming. I feel like every single time I drop a unique glove, boot, staff, whatever it is, I know exactly what it is. Because it's not like I drop unique boots and there's like 20 different unique boots that could drop. Every time a unique boot drops, I know which unique boot it is. Just every time a unique glove drops, every time a unique, whatever, I know what it is. That's just it. I just always know what it is. Oh, wait, maybe I can turn Dark Reader on. There we go. And it's never like, a lot of them just feel underwhelming. So it's not even like, oh, maybe it's Blood Fist, maybe it's, Lava Gouts, maybe it's this or that. Which, again, I know what all those are as well because I know the base types and stuff. But it just, there's not a bunch of those. Moving on, Paragon boards. Number 1, Paragon nodes feel the exact same as legendary aspects right now. I don't feel like I have much choice, but rather I'm just going to required spots. Paragon boards could also use more fun along the way. It's literally just +5 stats every single time, which just doesn't feel that great. Increasing the number of rare magic nodes around the boards and making them not so similar and strong would actually make me think about what I want to go after. Obviously, there will always be an optimal, efficient route that somebody will figure out of how to go. But right now, it doesn't take very much thought to know, oh, okay, there's 4 rare nodes there, and these 2 don't even apply to my build, and these 2 do. So I just go to these 2, and then I get the dexterity for my glyph, and then that's it. Right? It's like, they just don't feel great there. Additionally, I think glyphs are very basic and simple. I don't really have that in here, but it's just like, the glyph is, I can't reach it until it gets to level 15, and then it expands its radius 1 time, and now I can get what I need with all the dexterity to make it work, and then it's kind of done. I just like level it to 21 or whatever. I mean, they're fine, but they feel fine. That's about it. Moving on, PvP. Please make other players stand out more. I can't tell a person from a monster half the time, and I've killed people without even knowing it, and then just I see in chat, it's like, oh, you killed somebody because I was killing monsters. Making their name bigger above them, something would be great. It's really, really, really hard to tell. Quality of life. There's a lot here that I think could be really improved and easy wins. These are all easy wins for the most part. Number 1, camera adjustment again. Please allow it to just be a little further out. Again, that horse range is like a great range. Number 2, a gems bag and tab. Though again, gems also need a purpose to be picked up at this point. That would be really nice. Number 3, overlay minimap. This is an easy win for a lot of people like myself who want to use it. I hate having to bring a map up and it blast over the whole screen and I can't see anything. Have a toggle, right? You can have it up in the top right for the people that like that, or you can have it on top. Number 4, a loot filter, especially in this game with item power, affix rolls, and this constant flurry of rares and legendary items. I think this would be a really big improvement because I don't care to see anything that's like under item power 750 or for a wand at this point under 785. And so I don't want to ever see a wand that's under 785 because then I pick it up. Oh, it's 740. Okay, I got to toss it. Like that just, there's so much stuff that I just want filtered out. It would be great. Number 5, drop from inventory hotkey key. Just a hotkey. I'm dragging every single item off and then it kind of lags sometimes and it's hard to drag off and everything is very tedious. I just want to be able to mass click, control click and drop all the stuff on the ground from my inventory if I don't want it because I don't want to take it back and then have to go like salvage all of it. Sometimes I just want to get rid of stuff, right? Number 6, a search bar. I think this would be massive, and search bar in like a lot of areas. Having it for my stash tab, so I could search on aspects, so I could search on legendary items. Oh my god, that would improve so much. Having it so I can search, across the map for a dungeon. I can search the Paragon boards. I can search whatever. These sorts of things would save a lot of time. It would be rough. Number 7, ability to turn off all text in combat. I don't care to see every single thing is vulnerable. I know it's vulnerable. I don't need it to tell me. I don't even know who is absorbing what when it's absorbed, and I don't care most of the time. I just want to be able to turn off all of that combat text. Numbers off is great. Let me get rid of the text now too. Number 8, chat not opening when I click on the bottom left. This kills me. I can't tell you how many times I've died because I was... Well, now the chat's not here. I'm going and I click in the bottom left of it, and then I die because that was, oh crap, oh no, oh, it's whenever something happens with the chat, That one has just been brutal. Please remove that. I've died multiple times from clicking there, and then I'm pressing all my hotkeys, but of course they don't work because it's typing. Additionally, with chat, I don't need to see every single time a party member engages with a random elite monster or something. If I could remove that, that would be great. I just feel like I get spammed down there. Number 9, scrolling in the glyphs skill tree Paragon board is annoying. I mean, glyphs especially is really confusing. I have to scroll and look down in this little area here. Let me even move myself. This is how I'm trying to see all my glyphs, and I don't have any way to filter these, push these away. I don't know. And then having to try and scroll around here and in the skill tree. This is as far out as I can go in the skill tree. So if I want to adjust down to skill down here, it just doesn't feel that great. I hope that could be adjusted somewhat. Number 10, show the time on buff/debuff durations. Yeah, whole screen doesn't actually fix it though, right? Oh, okay, we go here and we go to full screen. I still have to scroll up and down. Not being able to see in time how much time is left on an elixir or how much time I'm frozen or anything is, painful. And number 11, allow me to hide hotkeys. I know what these numbers are for each of the skills and all of these pieces. I don't need to see all that. Moving on, social. Besides trade, creating better social aspects would be great. I feel like I'm in a very lonely and empty MMO right now. 2, having better social hubs, lobbies, towns with way more people, places I can actually go and interact with and find other parties would be way improved. And number 3, some sort of matchmaking system potentially, just some way to really join up with others, find parties with others, do things with others. Hey, I want to go and do this quest. Does anybody want to go join? It just feels like there's millions of people playing this game, and I feel like there's 100. Experience. Backload experience more into the higher levels. Level 50 to 51 feels way too similar to 99 to 100 right now. And even 35 to 36 feels way too similar to 80 to 81 and all of this stuff. I know it slightly increases, but for the most part, every level from level 25 on feels like it's the exact same amount of experience to get there, which to me doesn't feel great. You might think it feels great. To me, I'm not as big of a fan of that. Number 2, those rooms in the dungeons that have monsters but don't give experience should be adjusted to give experience and loot and corpses. I don't know why those rooms exist and you just have to spend time killing stuff, but you don't get any value for it. Doesn't feel great there. Moving forward, monsters. There is simply too much monster CC. Getting frozen, stunned, rooted, knocked down. Then there's the blinding, silencing, whatever. And then having my unstoppable skill cooldown up so I can get out of it isn't that enjoyable. Watching myself die because I'm sitting there for 5 seconds frozen or on the ground, waiting for my cooldown, just feels bad. I don't mind investing in defense. I don't mind investing in something like that, but it currently feels poor. Maybe even reworking something to have something like cold resist decreases the amount of time that you're frozen. Or like in Diablo 2, cannot be frozen is a mod, and so you would get that so you don't get stuck in that, right? Right now, I think the only thing is you have like your topaz that you put in your armors and stuff to reduce some of the durations of CC. But yeah, there's just some like really long stuns and really long freeze and really long all this stuff. And of course on the ground with all this, the things that will explode and this will freeze you, this will do that. Yeah, situations are less scary and more just crowd control overload to me. Number 2, going with that, does every monster need to explode 1 to 2 seconds after death or leave a pool on the ground that will poison or do whatever? For a game with already some difficult visibility during fights, having constant ground explosions is not enjoyable to me. I don't mind 1 or 2 monsters. Hey, that doll over there will blow up on death or something, and I know that I gotta watch out for that doll. But having so many monsters explode like that, and then again, 1 or 2 seconds, so I'm just constantly having to like move, let it explode, go in, now that explodes. It's tiring. It's not fun. It feels overtuned. At the same time, some monsters exploding like 3 times is just, oh my gosh, having to just sit and wait for it to, and then that explode, you know, it's like, it's not a good feeling. Endgame feels all right. I would love it to have a little bit more to work towards. I assume this will be fixed in seasonal content. I'm not going to say much more on it, except I think, you know, having a little bit more to do would be cool. Otherwise, pretty fine. Maybe Helltide's not being like every other hour, every couple hours or something. Having to like, I want to do Helltide, but I have to wait 30 minutes for the Helltide to come up. It's kind of annoying. Bosses. World bosses are just easy and boring right now. Plain and simple. I don't even care to go fight them or do them. I don't feel like they're crazy rewarding, and it's not a fun experience. Number 2, most bosses overall do not have very engaging fights. I think taking a look at Path of Exile, taking a look at Lost Ark, there's some great bosses, great examples of how so many fights can be super exciting. Lilith in this game is a good fight, but for the most part, the boss fights and boss design, whether it's at the end of a dungeon, whether it's in the quest, whatever, they're just not interesting. They're just like not fun fights. I think a lot of these could be improved. PoE engaging fights. Path of Exile's got your Shaper fight, you've got your Adziri fight, you've got your Elder fight. I mean, there's a lot of great fights in that game. Not every fight is fantastic, but... And even some of the ones in the campaign, like that Tide dude who goes in and out with the water and stuff, there's plenty that even through the campaign I don't think are terrible. Guardian raids from Lost Ark could be a huge improvement. Yeah, there's a lot they could do. Moving on, spells. Cooldowns definitely create some limiting factors and also force cooldown reduction as just the most important affix of all time. Changing this is probably a big overhaul again, but I also think this could help improve build variety. Because right now, again, it's like, oh, well, I can't, you know, that skill has a 20-second cooldown, so I can't ever make like a Frost Nova Sorceress. It's just Frost Nova is always a skill that I just go and use, and then it's on its cooldown, and that's what it is, right? But this might be too big of an overhaul because that adjusts a lot of stuff. Again, I don't like cooldowns in PvE really that much, but that is what it is. Number 2, I think this is the more serious issue. The spender generator just isn't feeling good. And it's not just to me. I've actually fixed it for myself because I have so much stuff that generates me mana that now I don't have the issue. But way too many people I've just heard complain about it for way too long in the game. Just sit there out of mana or out of resource and just have to use the basic skill that they don't care about until they can use the spell they want to use again. I don't like mana potions and just chugging that, but I would rather chug mana potions and be able to use the skills I actually want to use than deal with the current system of having to just generate, wait to get the one spell I can use, and then wait again. It just isn't feeling good. Lots of barbarians and druids and sorceresses come into my chat and just constantly complain to me about it. They're just like, hey, how do you get your resource up? Because it feels horrible to me. I can never use any of the spells I want to use. My core skill I use once every 5 seconds because I just have to wait. Yeah, I think this system needs to be overhauled again. Moving on, damage scaling. Adjusting the bucket system, I think, would improve this a lot. It would require some rebalance for sure in the game, but it would also help a lot of affixes and aspects and make them not feel so required. Again, right now with like the different buckets, like vulnerable, and then you get your crit and all of that, and the way that they cross multiply, you feel required to get each one up, and it's just you focus on that damage and focus on that damage and focus on that damage, and then they all multiply and your damage goes up bigger. I think this needs to be looked at again. Again, that goes back to just back to the start. But yeah, vulnerable is its own bucket and it's a requirement now. Everybody has to run vulnerable. That doesn't feel great. That doesn't seem like a good thing. Monetization. I think you guys really shot yourself in the foot by making free cosmetics look way too beautiful. This is like an anti-monetization piece. But look how cool I look. And I get to like go in and adjust all this stuff. And I can make my character look cool a million ways. I'm sorry. There's a lot of monetization, obviously, and stuff in this game that I'm not going to touch on all the pieces. I've already discussed my thoughts on all the monetization of how it's all going. But I think, man, for a game where you're trying to sell cosmetics, you nailed free cosmetics in this game. Just saying. Anyways, throwing you guys a bone. Moving on, graphics. Having a little more contrast in certain areas I think would go a long way. A lot of the game looks real beautiful, but there is a few places where there's too much gray, too much brown, too much whatever, and it's really hard to see with that. Additionally, a few skills being adjusted and redone could be big wins. Things like Frozen Orb and Ice Armor could look way better. Stuff like Blighted CE, I can't see anything when there's Blighted Corpse Explosion. It's just a pool of mess, right? And it just kind of like wrecks the environment a little bit. You have these gorgeous environments that you've built, and then some of these skills look cheap on top of them, or just cover it up and ruin it. And they just need to... I just think you could adjust some of those, and that would really like improve the game there. Number 3, cursor visibility options would be nice. I think sometimes it's easy to lose your cursor, and for especially some people who may have harder time seeing, giving them more ease there would be really great. Horse. I gave Horse a 10 out of 10, but I've got some complaints. Number 1, remove the cooldown to remount. Also, adjust the cooldown if you get knocked off. I think it's, 30 seconds or something if you get knocked off before you can remount? I killed the monsters that knocked me off, in 2 seconds, and now I have to wait 28 seconds or 20, whatever it is, before I can get on my horse again? Come on. I'd say do no cooldown to remount, and then, if you get knocked off, maybe, 5 to 10 second cooldown or something if you really want. But the cooldowns right now are just rough. Number 2, the cursor affecting horse speed doesn't feel great because trying to run max speed south is really hard to do, right? But on the left to right, you can, and it just, the way it like drops so much. I don't hate the idea of cursor affecting horse speed, but maybe just have it be really closer in. And so it's really just like a small area if you want to do fine movements, and then it gets to full speed right outside of that. Number 3, remove barriers. I don't know. I think the barriers are just really annoying. Or if you're going to put barriers, make them like really like dangerous areas. Sometimes there's just barriers with nobody there. Sometimes there's barriers and there's like 2 little mobs at the barrier. I just don't like the barriers. I'd be fine if you got rid of all of them, honestly. And lastly, crafting. Potentially simply allowing a second type of craft to re-roll the numbers with an affix. You can continue to make it expensive and going up, but allowing us to further improve the GG items we love, I think would be great. This doesn't have to be a thing. If you want us to hunt for items more, that's totally fine. But I think that could be a nice second way to do it. You could also make it cost gem dust, so now there's an actual use for gems. Number 2, ability to see possible reroll affixes could be great. I think that would just be helpful for people. This is a comment I got from my chat. Helpful for people to just, have a little bit more visibility around what they can get. And number 3, better scaling on the reroll gold limit I think would be great. I think the first one is pretty cheap and then it like jumps up really high. And maybe just having that be a better scale up on it, I think would be improved. And that's it. Not really that much. So all in all, I mean, I think if you guys made these changes, I mean, I know that this is a list of a lot of constructive feedback and critiques. And it feels like, hey, you're just blasting into the game. Again, I want to say that I think there's a lot of great things about the game as well. Obviously, I've still been enjoying myself. I'm still playing the game. There's still plenty of good within it. So I don't want, you guys to think that I only hate the game and I'm only giving a list of garbage and all of this, right? I think it's important to really think and know that, like, this is a video of changes that could improve. So it's not a video of things I love about Diablo 4, right? Additionally, this comes from a place of love because I think a lot of these changes would improve the game, which would make the game even more fun for more people. So, yeah, I want to give a shout out to the devs there for working hard, creating a great game here. If I hated this game, I wouldn't even make this list. Straight up. But I'm making this list because I think this covers a lot of my personal thoughts and a lot of thoughts from people that have come into my chat, and just, you kind of get a sense of the overall feeling of how people feel on certain issues when they come in and they say, is this bothering anyone else? Why can't I do this? So this is kind of the culmination and gathering of all of that into one. So, yeah, with that being said, appreciate y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe, YouTube. Peace, everybody.